greetings, and salutations. Got 12 off the bat. That's nice. Welcome back to the Automotive Podcast, where you don't have to build model cars, but it sure does help. We are here for episode 30. And then the special guest, Hollywood Square, down there on the bottom, you might notice Martin Aviard, who, if you're on Instagram, you'd know is Stoked Model. If you are not on Instagram, well, you're about to learn why you should be on Instagram as we go through some of Martin's builds here. Truly a world-class builder and, obnoxiously enough, world-class photographer as well, as you'll see some of the pictures we show you this evening. Good at everything. So that's just awesome and unfortunate at the same time for the rest of us.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I would feel the exact same way. So it has been 2 weeks since we have all been gathered together. Gentlemen, what has been going on? I've noticed well, we'll get Sean's part in a second here. He's been quite busy. But I believe Mr. Chester has also been chugging along up there with builds and completions even.
Yeah, I just finished that Mazda, the little RX-7, and I got a new printer from Elegoo, the Elegoo Saturn 4 16K machine. So I've been printing these little Stance GT cars. This is the Charger. These are so much fun. They just he sends them in Chitu box files. You just drop them right into the slicer, slice it, print it. About 4 hours, they're done. Whole kit. So I've been printing those, and I just started a wide body R32. Nice. So I'll do a video on decals with this.
How's the print quality compared to your previous machine?
My other one's a 12K, and you really can't tell much difference between the 12 and the 16. But the features of the 16K machine has a heated vat, and it does a little tilting action, whereas my Saturn 4 didn't do that. So, just little toy features make it that much cooler.
What? Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. What layer height are you printing at?
0.03 is what I mostly print at.
So I think we've had a discussion in the past about with both Bill Geary and a couple other people who do 3D printing about the sort of diminishing returns of the increasing number of Ks, but it's that quality of life improvements that are going to be the key thing, like a heated vat, so you're not having to put a snake charming blanket underneath your printer in order to keep your resin warm if you're in a cold climate or whatever. Right. Or again, you should have less shear with a tilt to the bed rather than pulling straight up and down.
Right. Yeah, it heats it up to 30 degrees centigrade. So it's pretty hot resin.
Yeah, I think that was always Elegoo's recommendation. I always thought it was funny. Like my climate is only over 30 for maybe 2 or 3 weeks a year. So,
yeah, Martin, where are you located at?
I'm in Victoria, BC, Vancouver Island in Canada. So very west coast. Yeah. So it's best climate in Canada, we call it, but mildest.
I'm near Cleveland. Sean's near Columbus, and James is near Pittsburgh.
Right.
Well, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you.
It's the winter versus the rainforest climate here.
Yeah, no, definitely rainforest is the key word out here. So.
But James, you're also that's going to be the 1087 SX.
Correct.
Decal scheme, correct. Right?
Yes, this decal scheme.
Oh, good. It's a wrap.
Yeah, well, it's a partial wrap. Yeah. Not a full wrap like the last one.
Let's say you did. Yeah, say that the RX-7, not the only model you finished, because you also finished that drift.
Right. The Toyota 86. Yeah, that was a full wrap. That took almost 3 days to wrap that car.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Thank you.
I like the way he's just nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, whatever.
You also did some paint testing recently, didn't you?
Yes, Gallery sent me their Mecha set, and I've been playing with their paints and primers, try and get a good handle on them before I do a video.
Yeah, you want to? Any first impressions you want to?
My first impressions was I didn't like it, but now that I've played with it a little bit, I'm getting glossy spoons out of it,
Okay.
and it's minimal effort. And I'll say in the video, but I won't be replacing all my paints with gallery paint. I prefer a good lacquer with a 2K clear over top of it. I prefer that shine over. This is more like a really good lacquer paint job. Like if you didn't clear it, just like straight out of a rattle can, like you do, Sean, your Tamiya rattle cans. Yeah, that's basically the shine you're going to get. Straight out of the airbrush.
Interesting.
Cure time is a little longer than normal because it's water based. About 3 days to cure, unless you have a dehydrator, and then I guess it's like a half an hour in the dehydrator. But I don't have one, so I let them air dry.
That is a long drying time.
Well, it's different. It's totally different because it's not, there's no solvent to dry the paint. It's water.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Martin, have you had any experience with those new gallery paints?
No, I've been lacquer, like 99% lacquer for the last 5 years. I like the quick drying time. I like how hard it is. I like how hard it cures for polishing. Yeah, that's everything on my stuff is lacquer, no 2K, no
2K. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
No.
Wow. Okay. We'll have to explore that.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed it. By looking at the photos, I'm like, I thought for sure 2K would have just been okay. Wow.
No, I think, I remember reading like the health restrictions on spraying 2K, and I was kind of like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna stick with lacquer. I'm gonna try that out and see if I can get that to work. And yeah, and then I found a great YouTube video of a guy who demoed his whole lacquer technique, and I was like, yep, I'll just copy that. So,
wow.
Yeah, pick your brain on that later.
The shine that you're getting on the models is amazing.
Yeah, wet sand and polish is on every, everything is like nothing is left as the kind of default texture that it comes out of the airbrush with. But it's all still, it's the Mr. Color GX100, the super clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Let's say you're about to be in trouble up there. Mr. Color's products are being vamoosed out of the country by the country of Canada. There, I see.
Well, I think we were running into. I think I just bought like 2 bottles. Our local hobby shop limited us to 2 bottles of the leveling thinner because they got like one case of it in. So as soon as it comes in, it's just gone. Tamiya spray cans were also being. They were stopped being imported because and I've heard various things, mislabeling versus illegal content. So I don't know what the end result of that is going to be yet. So, but I don't really use them that much. So
I saw from, I think it was Sunward Hobbies, which is way out the other side of Canada there. Their list included it didn't have Mr. Leveling thinner, but it had several of the other ones, including just the regular Mr. Color thinner, which is odd. Like, why that and not the other? If it levels, it's fine. If it doesn't level, no. And then it was like the GX paints were going to go, which is a problem because that's the bottled clear, and then also several of the highly pigmented colors, and then the Christian line, like the alcohol based.
Yeah, that's
why that? That's
a toxic one, right? So
does that mean that Tamiya's XXX and XF lines are going to get pulled? Like I'm not going to go into a whole thing that's Canada. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
The choices of what was being removed seem to be odd. I understood that TS, it's aerosol, it's in the air, it's a chemical we don't want in the air, but why the bottle paints? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. No explanations sometimes.
Made sense to somebody with a college degree in an office somewhere.
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is they specifically target one thing and not fully understanding how many other things are affected by that single action, right? Like they just, they went after one thing in particular, and maybe it's just, now that it's being applied to everything, it's just kind of hitting a bunch of stuff. So who knows? I've bought my GX through eBay, through Sunward, through local hobby shop. Like and I think I've got probably 12 bottles of it in my drawer. Like that's like, if I don't have that, then, I've tried Tamiya Clear, lacquer clear, and it's okay, but not as good. So,
Right.
yeah, I do tend to stock up on stuff, especially the Mr. Hobby stuff, because I think, our local shop is like, they get 2 shipments a year and that's it. They can't just stock it from wherever. They get, 2 kind of whatever pallets, and that's it for the year. So you kind of get it while you can, and then it's not available. So, yeah.
Can you get it shipped in?
I have had it shipped in. I've also had it intercepted in the mail. As being, if it's too much, if it's too high a quantity, small quantities are fine. But yeah. I'm not like trying to like sneak it in. The labeling all says exactly what it is. So it just depends on who saw it and where it went through and how much of it there was. So I haven't shipped any in quite a while because I did have some picked out of the mail. So yeah, I know. That's why when I saw it, my local shop just had like a bunch of bottles. I went and bought 5 bottles of it. I was like, okay.
Send the wife in. Here, honey, go buy this.
Yeah, stock up the drawer. Be okay.
Starting to sound like the 40% off coupon on Hobby Lobby stories, right? Send your kid in, send your wife in. Everybody gets a. Yeah. Back when it was actually a paper coupon, you had to print out.
Right.
Let's see here. I actually have primed a few more things for the interior of the BMW. I've got the roll cage cleaned up and test fit to make sure it actually fits together. We'll glue that together and paint it in a couple of days. And then I also got the chassis, interior pan, and a couple other things that need to be body color primed for the Mini. I got the paint we're never allowed to speak of again out, and it does appear to be more liquid than solid. So I'm hoping that'll actually spray. I'm going to actually uncover. I know we'll lose the pig and the bear back there. Uncover the spray booth, and like the door panels. Even though it's 1997 Mini, will still have sheet metal on the inside of it. So I figured that's a good way to test it, to make sure there's actually something's going to come out of the airbrush other than a whole bunch of pigment and a whole
cobwebs.
Yeah, well, that from disuse, sure, but I'm more worried about whether or not the paint comes out. I did pick up a can of Tamiya rattle can British Racing Green just in case, because I don't have another acrylic lacquer based acrylic green floating around here right now. And with all the things that are going on with our country's lovely inability to receive mail right now, I'm not sure I can get any out of England or not. So I'm not going to worry about that. I have it. So that's me. Mr. Sean,
I'm proud of you.
Yes.
I'm proud of you, James. You're building.
Such as it is.
Right. Yeah. I've been working on travel. I was making progress. So
yes, sir.
Progress on that.
Yeah, been following that along.
Yeah, no, that's actually inspired by your Scout, which I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit deeper. But I love that hunting, fishing theme that you applied to your Scout, and I was like, oh, James was kind enough to print me off a travel lot. I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was New Legend 4x4. I don't know if you know the company. They do Restomod Scouts.
Okay.
For they're high dollar. I mean, they're as much as well, I'll say that. I mean, I think they charge around $350,000 for finished build. So yeah, that was a big inspiration for that build. Was just their stuff is modern engines, modern fender flares and bumpers and stuff, but keeping the general aesthetic. But yeah, and I think that's the first SUV truck that I've built ever. So yeah, that was yeah.
That thing is just it's amazing.
Thanks.
And I know that did you have a partnership or was with Scout Motors or what?
Yeah, it's kind of I had a maybe like 3 years ago I had a magazine feature. There was a magazine called Iron and Air, and they did every year they did an art and design issue. So one year they asked, can we feature your work? And they ended up putting it on the cover. And then right after they did that issue, they went out of business. They were canceled. They had done 50 issues. I will say it was their publication ceased before my issue hit the newsstand, so I can honestly say it wasn't my fault. But the guys who ran that magazine actually ended up starting an agency where they run social media and do media work for different automotive companies. One of their clients was the new Scout that is owned by Volkswagen. They're building EV, fully electric, and range extended versions of the Scout. So he reached out to me saying, hey, we need content for our social media. Would be interested in building a Scout model for us to feature. So yeah, I agreed. And so we got to, and they wanted some photo and video content. I did end up packaging it up and sending it to them so that they could, I think they were going to give it to the CEO.
Wow.
And it made it there except for the wheels and tires. That every single tire on it snapped off. Everything else, like the canoe, the roof rack, I built like a custom foam enclosure for it and a display case with a little, engraved plaque. And then I guess it just moved too much on the tires and snapped all 4 of them off. So I'm hoping he got it back together. I haven't actually seen it together. But
that's painful.
I thought the roof rack was going to be like, that's 3D printed. Those are 0.5 millimeter bars. Like that was fairly fragile, but that survived.
Yeah, that was such a sweet looking build. Now, I'm curious. Do you CAD model your own?
I do. If I can find something that I don't need to model, and if I can find something on Cults or somewhere else, I will buy it because I'll spend the $10 to save myself 5 hours of time. Like on that one, there's a winch on the front, and I'm like, that's a really, the braided wire, all of the hook, everything. I was like, I don't need to spend time doing that. So I bought that, but then I made the bumper. I made the wheels and tires for that. I made the wheels to match the current wheel style that's on the new Scout. So it kind of looked like a bit, there's some homages in there to the design of the new Scout in the stuff that I did. And that's, I've been a graphic designer for 30 years. I did some 3D modeling as part of that, just for fun, like as a hobby stuff. I've used it for work occasionally, but I more just kind of kept into it for just, general interest and because I enjoyed doing it. And then when 3D printing kind of really hit, I was like, oh, well, I have this skill set. I can make whatever I want now. So yeah, that was a big turning point for the kinds of models I was building, was being able to actually 3D print at good resolution parts that I wanted for the models. So
yeah, I think that's one thing that really sets your models apart is these one-off, parts that you have modeled yourself. It gives them very unique designs and things that just, kind of as a.
Yeah. I like, whether it's the turbo setups on the engines or the engines themselves or wheels and tires, airless tires, whatever I kind of come up with or whatever I've been influenced by stuff I've seen. I love just being able to make that part, just build it out. I use, for the last year, I think I've been using Blender, which is like, open source, free software. It's great, runs on a Mac, runs on a PC. It's, and it was similar enough to what I was used to that I kind of, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but it just kind of went right with it. Works with STL files really well, makes nice printable files right out of it. So yeah, I've been really happy with that. But I know I get asked a fair bit about the files that I make because I've never sold any of them. I've never put them up, but I always they're never finished. Like they're good enough for what I need them to do. And I will make the wheels fit the axles or fit the suspension, or I will make that engine fit. And there's all kinds of fiddling because I don't want to go back and adjust it and reprint it and wait that time. I'll just make it work. But other people will not do that. They want, they want it to fit. They want it to go on the axles. They want it to fit, whether it's, Ishima or Tamiya or whatever. And I just can't be bothered to go back into my files to correct them. They're good enough for what I need, and that's it. I leave them at that. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I would like for you to talk to Eric Ritz someday, Martin. I think the two of you in the same room would just.
Do I know Eric Ritz? Is he Impalo? Is that the guy?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I do follow him. Yeah, he's got a pretty cool skill set. I think that's he's got full size car and scale stuff. So
Yeah. I've really been a fan of your design skills in general too. I mean, as soon as I started following you on Instagram, I was like, this guy must be a designer. I mean, your logo, and just your backgrounds. I remember that you built a gas station, I think,
Yep.
as
I'm sitting right in front of the gas station right now. So
okay.
yeah. I mean, I've said to a few people, for whatever reason, over my career and life and hobbies and all the stuff I've done, it's like it's been this kind of tailor-made assembly of the skills that I need to do this, to be able to visually do visual conception, like do sketches, do photo chops, like stuff together, do the livery design and graphics for them, and then be able to do the 3D modeling, and then the 3D printing, and then the craft of actually assembling and painting. And then I'm not a professional photographer, but I've worked with dozens of them over my career, and I just absorb whatever I can from them, so that when I do need to take a photo, I've got them kind of over my shoulder and my ear, kind of remembering all the stuff they told me over the years. So yeah, it's been this kind of interesting combination of skills that is really kind of like I say, like this Lamborghini. I had that image in my head before I built the gas station. Like I knew exactly what I wanted this to look like. I was lighting birthday candles and then blowing them out and wafting the smoke into the scene. Wow. to get that atmospheric effect, so the lights have something to kind of shine through. So just all of that stuff is just being able to kind of I think that's the nature of a designer, is having that vision in your head and then being able to actually execute and produce an image based on that concept. So
yeah, that's definitely next level.
Yeah. I think that was the first model I built after I got my resin 3D printer. I was kind of like, this is cool. This will be fun. So yeah, new wheels and tires, new turbo intercooler setup, all that stuff. Yeah.
Is the gas station, is that all modeled and 3D printed, or?
Yeah, the pumps, the columns there, like the little the paper towel rack and paper towel thing and the post, that's all 3D printed. The base is all just different layers of MDF, just wood.
Okay.
Which has then been painted. The convenience store is all just sheet styrene. There's almost no 3D printing in that. But then if you've seen the shots of the gas station where you can see the canopy profile, that's all 3D printed as well. So yeah, so it's a mix of, kind of traditional sheet styrene building technique, and then, 3D printing for the more detailed stuff, or stuff that would be difficult to replicate. And then, I had some custom decals printed as well. So
There's
Do you print those yourself?
No, I don't print them myself. Who's the guy? IndyCals. I've used him a couple of times. Yep.
Okay.
There's something definitely not factory stock about this rear end here.
No, I think that was actually, it's funny. I've entered a few build offs, and I think that was maybe the second build off I'd entered. And as it turns out, I can be a fairly competitive person when it comes to so yeah, so the focus and energy goes into one model at a time instead of a couple. So
yeah, very cool. One thing I appreciate about your model building is you're kind of all over the place. You've got a very wide range of automotive interests and sort of style. I've seen you build some very just nice, clean, like classic cars, little sports car. I think the MG is kind of sticking in my mind. The Jaguar, I think you did in a really nice XKE.
Yeah, I did the Roadster stock with my own wheels and tires and stuff, and then I did the coupe as a full like twin turbo V12.
Right. Then it's like you go to the other extreme of like radicals,
Yeah.
It's
funny. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like I don't have a favorite type of thing to build, really. I will build anything that kind of strikes, like it'll come down to seeing something cool on Instagram is like 9 times out of 10. It's like, that's really cool. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to use this car and I'm going to change the livery to this. Like, it's all just everything, kind of gets melded together out of stuff I see. And I've said, like, I built a couple of hot rods, but that is really not my world. Like, I just, like the import stuff, the European stuff, I've spent more time in that genre. So when I do build a hot rod, I tend to find a real hot rod that I like. And like, I will make a replica of that because that's the easiest way for me to see something I like and say, yes, I can build that. Whereas the other stuff tends to be, no, I can combine these influences and make something cool. But yeah, I've done a couple of 30 Fords, both from builders in California that, you know, they saw it online when I tagged them in the post and they're like, oh my God, I need this. I can't promise I won't sell it to anybody else, but I want to enter it in some competitions. I'd like to hang on to it for a while. So yeah, I got a couple of hot rods sitting around that are direct replicas of people's cars. So.
That's neat. How did you get started building models?
I built when I was a kid. I think like, you know, I mean, I was born in 72. So I kind of grew up in that, you know, like late 70s, early 80s would have been my prime model building years as a kid. My dad would bring me a kit, you know, I'd get a kit for Christmas every year at least, you know. And so, I don't remember finishing a lot of them at that age. You know, there was a lot of half done or over ambitious, you know, trying to make them too different or whatever. So it was, but I still enjoyed it. And then when I was about 30, I built like half a dozen motorbikes, got it back into it for a little while. And then, got into the full size stuff for a while. And then I think I always had it in the back of my head that I would get back into it as like a retirement hobby. And then I just, after, working on the full size stuff, grinding and welding, got a family here. I can't be doing that late at night. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? And yeah, like, I guess what was it? 2019, end of 2019, I was like, I'm going to pick up a kit. I'm going to build a model. And I built a Honda RA272. 120th scale F1 car, like the old 60s Honda. And then I got a Ebro kit, a Tyrrell 003. And then, so I built like 5 F1 cars. And I was like, this was a really nice, quiet thing to do. It can go down to the hobby room at like 11 o'clock at night, work for an hour and go to bed. It just became this really nice kind of meditative hobby. And then it turned into a creative outlet where I started seeing stuff, people on Instagram customizing stuff. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is really cool. Like I kind of want to do that too. So then
I can do that.
Yeah, that coincided with the 3D printing thing. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Just like, okay, now it's not just building a replica of a Formula One car and making, building, and I haven't built really race cars since then because I'm like, 1,000 people have built that kit to replicate the exact same thing. And the photos are indistinguishable from somebody else who's built that kit. And it just felt like, I enjoyed the process, the craft of it, but the personalization and the creativity was missing. So I think that's really what kind of spurred me to start doing more different kind of things, was just to build something that doesn't look like anybody else's stuff, like in the model world. So,
right. Where do you draw your inspiration from? Because you seem like, I know you have a really broad range of interests. So like, how do you decide, yeah, that's the next thing I'm going to build?
I have a folder on my Instagram, like in my, and it's mostly that, like that's, and I was talking to a guy a while ago about it. Like, it used to be that, your exposure to different kind of genres and cars and stuff would come through magazines for the most part, right? It would be print media. So that would have been curated by the editor or the art director, whose cars got featured, which photos from the car shows made it into the magazines, and all of that kind of came through that filter. So the stuff that you saw was all, and for the most part, it was a pretty good summary of where car culture was at or whatever. But I love Instagram that I saw a guy who built an off-road Volkswagen. He had like 120 followers. I don't remember how I found it, but I was like, that is really cool. And it was, I'll pull it out here. It's this one. I think I might have sent a photo, but it's this.
Oh yeah.
So he put these really skinny super swampers on it, jacked it way up. And I was like, that's really cool, but I'm going to do my own paint scheme on it. I'm going to do like a trashed Herbie paint scheme. So it's that kind of thing, like where I'll see something like just random, but like that car would probably never make it into a Volkswagen magazine, say, so it's kind of, I love that Instagram has, democratized exposure to all of these different kind of genres and cars and stuff. Cause you can see stuff that's on, mainstream channels. It's really cool. Or you can see somebody just posting their car that they, work on the weekend. So.
Now did you model the chassis?
Not the chassis, but all of the suspension.
Okay.
And the engine cage. The engine was a black box STL Volkswagen. He's got a flat 4 engine that he's done. Yeah, so all the headlights and the bar at the front, the wheels and tires, I modeled all of that, the roof rack and the light bar. The seats were from black box as well. So again, like seats is kind of like, that's a big modeling task to kind of do something a little bit more organic and get that to look right. So I do tend to buy seats as opposed to modeling them. I'll stick with my more mechanical looking things.
You're modeling stuff by eye, or do you get measurements from anything? Or?
I have gotten measurements. I did a set of wire wheels for the E-Type, and I have a friend of a friend who was restoring a Jag. So I went over to his house with a tape measure and a camera and, took measurements, how thick are the spokes? What's the diameter of the wheel? What's the inside diameter of that spoke mounting point? So I know that those are that's replica stuff. So that's 100% accurate. Other stuff I will just eyeball. If I'm doing custom wheels and stuff, I'll just, like somebody will ask me, is that a 17 or 18 inch? And I'm like, well, it's probably like a 17.7. It's like, I don't care. It was the exact perfect size that I wanted it to look like.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that it's an exact replica of the actual size. So yeah. That's a general statement about my work. I often call it, automotive impressionism. Like, does it look like it could work? Yeah. Okay. Then that's usually good enough for me. I appreciate the comments from people saying, it's like, oh, your intercooler lines are going the wrong way based on where the pipes are coming in. And I'm like, you don't know what's going on in there. It's solid plastic. Anything could be going on in there. It could turn, it could go in. It's like,
or your Enzo with the floating wide body, right?
Yes, that's what I think I put in that post. As soon as it's funny, I glued the flares on because I actually built that stock, and I was like, do I do it stock? No, I'm going to put the wheels on it. So then I put the flares on, and then I took the engine cover off, and I'm like, what the heck are those attached to? I'm like, it
looks cool.
It looks cool. Yeah, and that's like that. I think that goes back to the influence as well. Is like, does that look cool? Yeah, that's cool. All right, that's the number one consideration for me. Does that look cool? Yeah. Okay. It's good.
Sometimes I wonder, like, it almost looks like you're like, I'm going to find two really different genres and see what happens if I mix them together. Or is that, how do you?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, it goes back to that broad taste in automotive culture and stuff that I like, is that I can see consistent things that are between maybe cultures and different styles of cars that I think cross over really well, that maybe this and this do go together. Like I said, there's a guy on Instagram, Walter Kim, who's a designer and illustrator, doesn't build models, but does phenomenal artwork. And he did a great series. If you know the Akira, the Japanese animation. Mm-hmm. So he did a whole series of illustrations based on what if they drove cars instead of rode motorbikes. So he had this open back mid-engine Porsche with all of the, Akira, like the motorbike style decaling on it and, shot in a gas station. I was like, man, that's really cool, but I'm going to do that with an F40, so that kind of, I didn't have a Porsche kit that was suitable, but I'm like, well, what do I have that's mid-engine that would work for that? So that kind of stuff is like, I love being inspired by illustrators and architecture and other stuff, just to kind of meld all that together and combine that all. So yeah, it's, you say the inspiration can come from almost anywhere. So
yeah, that's neat. I noticed right behind you, you've got some larger scale objects.
Yeah, this is my take on a Tamiya parts panel, but with a 1/12 scale Datsun 240Z. The rally version. I actually have a street version as well. So yeah, that right there. So that's a friend of mine built that frame for me. It's like about 5 inches deep, like 24 by 36 or something. Yeah, like if Tamiya had made that probably would have been like $1,000 framed piece of parts. So yeah, I had the kit sitting around for a long time and just built it for myself as garage art. So
that is very cool. I was actually referring to the British Racing Green.
Oh, the full size.
Yeah.
That's
large scale.
That's a 72 Triumph Spitfire that I restored over a long period of time. I didn't send a photo of that. But yeah, no, that was ground up restoration. I finished that probably 15 years ago, almost. Wow. Yeah, so
that's where your mechanical knowledge comes from.
Yeah, I can make some stuff work as long as it's, as complicated as a tractor as a Triumph Spitfire is. Well, here, I'll show you. This is my current full-size project.
Oh.
So that is, what an aerial atom is?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's basically my take on an aerial atom. It's a full exoskeleton steel frame with a Honda K20 in the back.
Wow.
Fun.
So I will say, like, that exhaust plumbing, figuring that out after doing the scale model twin turbo plumbing stuff in 3D, that was like a snap. It was like, it comes around, catalytic converter, exhaust out. Yep. Yeah, no, the 3D modeling stuff came in real handy for that. So.
Are you modeling parts for your real size cars as well?
Yeah, I've done like just some, brackets and mounts for running fuel lines and brake lines and stuff. Just like, just some little stuff that, not, and I don't print that myself. I have a friend who prints that for me because he's got the whole FDM print setup. The resin just wouldn't be strong enough. So,
is that car that you just pointed out there? Is that a kit that you put together, or have you built that frame?
Built that whole frame from the ground up over the last 10 years at least. Wow.
So it's your own design.
Yeah, there was a guy in California who wrote a book on doing basically a mid-engine Lotus 7. And he was an engineer, and he put a 400 plus horsepower turbo K24 in his. And I'm like, well, okay, if his suspension can hold up to that, then it should be more than enough for my stock motor. So I bought his book, and I built the suspension points out and all the mounting points where he had them. And then I made my own frame in between those points. So at least I know that the suspension has been professionally designed. It's been, tested on the racetrack with a much higher output engine. So I'm like, okay, I've got some confidence that will all work without having to learn suspension design and geometry and all of that. So yeah, I took that shortcut and then, designed and built my own frame. Yeah, rolled all the tubes on a giant tube roller in the garage. And that's been... I kind of come and go from that. I kind of, work on it for a while. And then, when it gets too cold, I like to work on it, roll it out in the driveway and work on it there, as opposed to having to be inside a cold garage working on it in the winter. So that's when the hobby stuff comes in. So.
Or where you find the time to build models.
Yeah.
11 o'clock at night for an hour. That's what.
Yeah, that's it. It's just, and I've said that to people. It's like, it's not, I think I would probably say for most of my builds, I'm in the 30 to 60 hour range of time put into them, including digital modeling and then the actual printing and assembly. But I try to do something every day. Don't let it sit for a few days, even if it's just, paint a few parts so that the next time you come to sit down, now you're detailing them or you're gluing them together or whatever. But just that constant little bit of progress just keeps me going anyway. So if I feel if I don't do anything for a few days, then I'm like, oh, it's just sitting there. So yeah,
I usually get 2 to 3 hours a day at the bench.
Yeah. Nice.
I mostly only build on the weekends.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. That's partly why it takes me so long and that's why I can let things sit for a week and dry. I'm not for 5 days, so it's fine. But I'm a morning person. Actually, being up this late is way past my bedtime. So I'm normal. Just at night, I'm just tired, just not in. I just don't want to sort of worn out. So typically, I would Saturday morning, I'll get up and there'll be a big burst of energy and I'll get a lot of stuff done on a Saturday. But through the week, I don't get much done at all. We were talking before the show. It sounds like you have kids.
I do. Yeah.
Do your kids enjoy you build with them at all, or?
No. I mean, they're two girls, 14 and 20. They are extremely crafty. They are into making stuff. Both of them can crochet anything. And just it's what I don't get is for the longest time they were following patterns, downloading stuff, and now it's just freehand crochet. They just make stuff. and just can is it like I can draw stuff, they can just make things, like I call it, like, it's 3D printing in yarn. It's just they will. So yeah, they've definitely picked up the crafty bug, the creative kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not cars. Nothing is cars. That's I am alone in that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I can sympathize. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got nephews who are more into cars than that, but
okay.
Yeah, no, my kids are.
I know you're a designer because you'd mentioned that. Tell us a little bit about your design background. How did you get into design?
Yeah, I think I was going to go into engineering in high school, and I had taken all my, physics and calculus, and was getting all my maths and stuff up. And then like halfway through my last year, I was like, yeah, you know what? I kind of want to design things instead. I want, car design would have been top of my list. But at that time, it wasn't really, I don't think design in my high school was understood as a discipline. Like it was art. You were a commercial artist, whatever that is, or you were an engineer. Like the industrial designer was just not a thing. So I ended up, I took a couple of years off after high school, and then I moved to another town in Canada. I did 2 years of graphic design and illustration, got a diploma in that, and then came back to Victoria and got a job a week after I moved back. And that's, so basically been doing graphic design, art direction, creative direction for the last 30 years. So yeah, it's definitely, I love it as a skill set, like just being able to make things and design things, and, just being able to create things is a fun way to spend your daily work, right? Just being able to, and it's making stuff for other people, which is, I think, why I enjoy the hobby stuff now and my own stuff, is because that is, work is a collaborative process. You're working with your coworkers, you're working with your clients, you are collaborating to make a finished product. And I enjoy that process. I also like making 100% of the decisions on my own stuff, like where it's like, no, that's
right.
Yeah, that's my own. Nobody else, had input on it. This is my own thing completely.
Yeah. I feel like there's an aspect to storytelling in design, and I can see that come through in your work as a model builder, and your photography. There's an aspect of like you're capturing a moment in time. There's a story surrounding. There's like an untold backstory to these things.
Yeah, I've been asked that before, and I think, I see, like, when you see vignettes and military dioramas, I think that's more explicit in terms of what's actually going on when you can include characters like that, and I don't. It is strictly the car in the background. But yeah, I think and I think, more so with the patinaed stuff than anything. I think the stuff that's weathered, that looks like it's lived a life, or something that's been so heavily modified, you can imagine the person who might have actually built that thing in real life. But yeah, I think there's definitely a mood and an atmosphere that I want to create with the images most of the time. Like it's there's a certain vibe that I want to come through in those final shots. So I think that's, I would say that's true. Isn't maybe not, I'm not like writing an essay about what that story is, but yeah, there's definitely a mood that I want to kind of hit with with each model. So
yeah, it's awesome. Have in your professional career as a designer, have you had an opportunity to do any automotive related work?
Yeah, not actually through the companies that I've worked for, but I've done freelance stuff. There's a shop in town here called Coachworks, and they painted my green car in a part exchange for a website about 18 years ago. But they are top-notch restoration shop in town here. Like, Mercedes 300 SL gull wings and roadsters were their specialty.
Ooh.
So they, people ship their cars to them and get them done. Like I did a shop tour there a couple of years ago, and, first thing when we walk in is a Lamborghini Arauco, which is like a really oddball car to restore, but just rows of 911s, rows of 300 SLs. And they had a national 300 SL convention. And the guy who owned, Rudy Konachek, who owned the restoration shop and Coachworks at that time, was just the body shop, but they hired me to do all of the promotion for the annual meet, which was great. It was like, I got to draw stuff. I got to go to the car show. I combined all of that design and illustration and car stuff into one. So I've had a few things like that over the years, but No, most of my stuff is completely random. I've worked on almost every kind of design project there is, I think, in terms of client
Sean.
and
Yeah.
Sean, tell them about your toilet.
Yeah, did a lot of toilets and faucets and hardly anything automotive related, like golf clubs, medical equipment, just random stuff. But very
as an
designer as well.
Yeah. Sorry, you're saying as an industrial designer, that was your professional. Yeah. No, I remember. It's funny. I have a friend who's an illustrator, and he did an illustration of a hand mixer from the '60s, and it is the most phenomenal illustration. But it's one that really makes you understand the design of the object as part of the illustration, which I thought was fantastic. That you kind of it really celebrated the industrial design of an everyday object, which I thought was really fantastic. So
yeah, that's cool. I feel like I'm hogging this interview, guys.
We're letting the two industrial designers have at it. Two Jameses are going to bed. You guys turn one of you hit end stream when you're done. I did want to grab this because these guys, the two gentlemen that are on here, maligned the living daylights out of this kit when it was announced, or not maligned it, but just everybody had a good chuckle at it because it's like, oh, what is this supposed to be? You built one of the new Hasegawa Nissans, and it's got that patina and everything. Hopefully this will look like something.
No, the Sylvia. Yeah.
The Sylvia. These guys had a great big chuckle out of who the heck wants to build a late 70s, early 80s, Econo box Nissan.
Yep.
I'm at the point now where they've made 5 of these that are distinctly different from one another, that it could be an IPMS collection entry. So I'm living that best life right now. But tell me about what you did here.
I mean, that's not a huge modification. I opened those flares up. Those are the flares off the Tamiya 240Z kit, the street custom. So that's what those are. The wheels were Watanabes that I downloaded from Cults, and then a part box set of tires. I struggled to finish that build. I will say that was I was halfway through that, and it is a really oddly proportioned car. It's the wheelbase is too short for the length of the car. The rear tire is too far forward. It doesn't line up with the angles of the rear window at all. It just, every time I picked it up and looked at it, I'm like, man, this thing is so ugly. So that kind of inspired the final paint scheme, the patina, the dirt, the wear and tear, just because I was like, I didn't want to spend, 2 weeks of perfectly finishing it, and wet sanding and polishing and getting it all perfect and being like, this is still an ugly car. So I kind of went with that and just kind of made it a little bit grungier. But yeah, it's I love Hasegawa kits. I think, in terms of realism and scale detail, I think they're better than Tamiya. I think Tamiya's go together better. I think the engineering is better on Tamiya, but as far as getting accurately sized tires and wheels and stuff, I think Hasegawa is doing a great job. I wish they had engines in them. I would love that, but I've got a bunch of their kits that I keep. Yeah, I'm going to build that. That's a really nice, just the proportions are bang on. The scale of everything just looks right. But yeah, this is just, I would say, an ugly car. I'm sorry to all of the 200SX and Sylvia S11 or S110 owners out there, but it's a weird one. But yeah, when it came out, I was kind of like, that's my, I do like 80s cars. I like boxy stuff. I like building that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, Hasegawa kits are very fiddly. They're very, very, very precise. And even if you load up the paint too much, you might knock the tolerance out.
Yeah, I found Ebro, the F1 kits I built of theirs were like any little extra error in assembly. By the time you get to the end, that body does not fit. It's just
going forward error, right?
Yeah, just everything kind of just expands and swells, and then you're like, oh, I guess this is displayed with a cowl off. It's just the way it is. But yeah,
and I think that kit's a great example because being such an oddball car that it is, you were talking to us before we came on, saying that you are not a purveyor of giant model stash, that you basically buy kits as you come up with the ideas, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, my stash is around 50, I would say. So
Wow.
that's, and I've been trying to make sure that I just don't buy kits that I'm not going to build. I just don't need to have something in my stash that is just, I don't have an idea for, or, I will admit to, I just bought the Honda Prelude reissue Tamiya kit because I had that when I was a kid. That is an absolute nostalgia purchase. And I remember, when I was a kid, Tamiya kits were 2 or 3 times the price of everything else. So, that was like, you really had to spend the money to get that better kit. So again, that's a really, nobody customizes those for the most part. You never see them like, kind of stanced out or anything. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, to be honest, but that was absolutely a nostalgia purchase in terms of, I had that kit. It's coming out, it's reissued. I'll get that kit again. Yeah. I'll do something with it.
Yeah. That was my next question. I was wondering if we were going to see it stanced or as an off-road
Prelude. Or honestly, that's it. Like like every other kit, I can tell you what I had in mind when I bought it, what I was going to do. Some of it's just simple, just a wheel swap and a particular color. Other stuff is like I've got a K truck kit. I'm like, no, that's going to be a mid-engine turbo diesel with no bed on it, and dually chassis. Like, it's going to be crazy. Like, I know exactly how I'm going to build that. But yeah, the Prelude is, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. At a minimum, if I do it stock, I would reprint all the wheels and tires on it because it's got those hilariously, imagine a Prelude with 12-inch wide tires on it, because that's pretty much what they scale out to. But that's like all their stuff that they're reissuing now is all these old kits with gigantic tires in them. Even their new stuff. I mean, I got to, I will say, I love Tamiya. I love their kits. I will build pretty much every one that comes out. Their tires are too big. The sidewalls are too tall. They're too wide. They just are not in scale, and I don't get it. Everything else is perfect. But yeah, wheels and tires.
My dad had an 85 CRX, and I remember building their CRX kit, and it was like, man, these wheels are like, tires are huge. Like,
they're enormous. Wide. Yeah. I had an 84 CRX. But
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It drove fine, but it was, I think I paid $1,500 for it. It was the car to have while we were going through university. So, yeah.
Proof that
James,
it's a proof that he builds everything that Tamiya makes. One of these pictures he sent me, this is a kit that you don't see built too often. How about the Gordon Murray here?
Oh man, that color.
Yeah,
It's all about the color with that one.
I don't remember how I got there. I can't remember which way I went, because I did that and I did the Carmen Ghia, and I think I might have mixed this color first. If you, Mr. Hobby, makes those super metallics, those are phenomenal metallics. I will mix them with anything because the metallic is so fine. It's the best in scale metallic I've ever used. So those are, and they make a bronze. Actually, that 61 Pontiac that I just finished this year was using their super copper metallic.
Oh,
straight, and it just the scale depth of that is perfect. But yeah, this is actually, I would say, the first really big challenge I've had with a modern Tamiya kit is that front body does not fit. Like, and you'll see it if you see these online, and if you go back to look at when Tamiya launched this kit and they had an unpainted version on their stand, you can see there's like a 1/16 of an inch gap between the door and the front cowl, basically. And and you've seen it in so many builds online. It is just, and like I had dry fit everything. I test fit everything as best I could. I'm like, yeah, this fits okay. I'll be able to get it there. And then once you put all the stuff under the front end, it just does not want to get there. So I ended up, after it was painted and polished, I ended up shaving the inside of that cowl to basically make the space to be able to push it back and like literally jam it back and glue it in place. Like, it was probably the most force I put on a model kit to get that close. And there's still a gap. So
don't buy the Oshima Pagani then.
Yes, I've seen this. Yeah, that's displayed fully open. Doors are always open.
That's right.
It's funny. There's a great builder in Vancouver that I know, Dean Collins, and he's built a few Model Factory Hero kits. And he always says, look at their promo photos. If the photos always show the car open, nothing fits. He built a best in show winning 12 scale Porsche 917, and the amount of work he had to do on like the white metal doors to get it to fit with the resin cowl and stuff. Was like he cut the doors apart and soldered more metal into them to get them to actually fit the rest of the body. So
Wow.
yeah, a lot of work. This was actually, I enjoyed this again. Instagram is why I kind of love being on it. I know this, everybody says negatives about social media, but the positives are pretty good. Somebody commented about the splitter on the front end saying it looked really cool. And then somebody else posted, yeah, we couldn't get, even with the active suspension, we couldn't lift the front of the car up high enough to make the approach angles work. And I'm like, okay, who's that guy? So I clicked on him, and he's like the lead designer for Gordon Murray Automotive. He's commenting on this post. So, I'm like, so we get to see this little mini exchange and conversation around, I'm like, that's really cool that you saw this, that you saw, my rendition of it online, where I don't care if the splitter works or not. It doesn't matter to me. But yeah,
it just has to look cool. Right.
It just has to look cool. Yeah. So, and I don't know if you've seen, they just did they released their new F1 homage based on the T50, and right. it has a splitter and it has a rear wing now and 5-spoke wheels. So I'm like, hey, maybe they saw my car. Yeah, no, it's kind of fun to have those interactions. So.
Yeah, you mentioned your Instagram. You've got a massive following on Instagram. I looked today, about 180,000 followers.
Yeah, it kind of hovers around there now. It's been like there. It's been pretty flat for the last year or so. But yeah, it kind of, and I think,
I mean, that's pretty much all the model car, man. That's everybody that builds model cars.
Oh, I'm sure it's more than I would hope. I can't imagine there's that many people who are that into it. I would, because I always estimate on Instagram there's maybe 5,000 people regularly who are kind of commenting and posting and stuff like that. I think the breadth, coming back to your comment, Sean, about the breadth of stuff that I do, I think I've picked up hot rod people. I picked up people who like stock Corvettes. People who like crazy customs. The stuff that I would say the stuff that hits the hardest is the wilder builds. Those are the ones like that Jag build. And and it was kind of, I attribute a lot of it to, I started posting in January of 2020. So COVID hit. Everybody's looking for a hobby. Everybody's online looking at stuff. And I think I just I rode that wave in those early days of COVID. And so I think it just, some of when reels were starting to get popular, like I had that custom Jag that I built with a V12 that got viewed over 3 million times. And it's just like, wow. There's no, I can't explain why or how. It just, it's whatever happens on Instagram happens. And yeah, so.
Well, that thing's just got so much visual pop to it. I mean, it's very unique. James, do you have the pictures of his Jag?
Excuse me.
I'd love to hear more about this model in particular. I mean, I feel like this is one of your signature pieces. You've got some come to mind. That's one of them. The Volvo wagon is another one.
More recent, yeah, and yeah, the crazy ones are the ones that I think get a little bit more notice. Yeah, so this is actually that magazine that I was talking about. They did the feature, and this was the shot they put on the cover of the magazine. And
I love how you always put in your. It's like one of your signatures too. Because the other
I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a Finnish builder. Eero Kamantu, I think, is his handle. So he builds a lot of Volkswagen stuff. Okay. So I saw him, he was doing this. He was putting his hands and I was like, you know what? That's perfect. Everybody knows how big a thumb is.
Right.
And you just instantly get that scale reference every time. So I was like, I stole it from him, and people attribute it to me, unfortunately, but I don't know. I like it for the scale, just scale representation. You instantly get a sense, okay, that thing's like this big. You just, right away. But yeah, this build, I don't know if you know who, he goes by the Kaiser is his Instagram handle. He's a digital car designer, but has now designed full-size cars and full body kits. His stuff is amazing. I loved his kind of, real cyberpunk kind of stuff. He's really kind of pushing the envelope in terms of, what you can do to modify an older car. So I was inspired by some of his stuff, some other stuff I saw. So yeah. And then that's a custom 3D designed like splitter and diffuser on the back. The wing is from an F1 kit. The fender flares are styrene and putty. And then like the ground of the splitter down the side is just sheet styrene. And then, yeah, the headlights are 3D printed. The wheels and tires, the airless tires came from Kaisa as well. I saw one of those on a different rendering of his that he did of a Lamborghini. Yeah, and then the engine layout for that was just fully. I wanted a V12. I wanted twin turbo, but I wanted it all under the hood. I don't like coming through the hood or putting big scoops and stuff. I like that kind of, I mean, you could never describe this as a sleeper, but I do like that kind of everything fits under the original bodywork. So
now, are you, I don't know if you have any scanning equipment. Do you scan any of or you're just kind of?
No, I will, I'm working on a DeLorean right now. And I took the drawings that are in the instruction manual and took photos of those, brought those into my 3D program. So I use reference to get scale of things. And like something like this, I would, build the chassis out, just assemble it, dry fit it, and then take a shot of it and have a couple of measurements key, and then take that as reference into my 3D program so that when I'm building this, I can kind of say, yes, this fits under the hood. This will fit between the wheels and tires.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's always, some fine tuning that needs to be done usually at the end of it. But yeah, a 3D scanner would be great, but I haven't seen one that is, the quality I want at the price point I want, I guess that's probably how I put it. So,
yeah. This one's particularly cool. I love the wheels that's got those Michelin airless tires.
Yeah. That took a few tries to get that to come out of the printer without resin getting clogged in the openings. The first one I did probably had twice as many veins to it in the tire, and then I had to start pulling them out to get it to actually not clog with resin and cure in there. So yeah, but that's kind of, it's kind of what I love about the 3D printing stuff is I've done a fuel intake or a hot rod intake with fuel lines running in it. And those fuel lines are 0.3 of a millimeter in diameter. And I'm like, are those going to print? I'm like, I don't know, try it, see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, it just prints it. It just does it. Everything's there. No supports on it. They just kind of float in, I'll print them at 10, 30, and 45 degrees on one plate, just being I don't know what's the best angle for this. So I'm just going to try a few different things. And one of them always turns out as being, the parts just kind of project up into the air and then join, and then that's it. They didn't, you don't need any supports because you'll never get those supports off that fine of a piece. But yeah, I'm always the stakes are so low in terms of cost and time that it's just I'm going to try it. I'm not even try it first, and then if it doesn't work, then I'll fix it. But I will always try it at scale, as much at scale as I can first. So
now, on the engine on the Jaguar, it looked obviously enough about mechanics that you can make it look plausible, but when you're designing the engine for that, are you more worried about just getting something that looks the way you want it to look, or you're I don't think this is going to really, there wouldn't be enough airflow through the cooling system to what's going through your head?
I think the plausibility is probably the biggest thing. I am not and I think, I'll say this, with all honesty, I don't care about the chassis of cars for the most part. I am not. You would probably never see a mirror under one of my builds at a show because I just as much as I appreciate engineering and I enjoy doing that kind of design work, that is it cool is the leading factor for the stuff that I do. So I want the impact of that. And I want it, I appreciate when people call out stuff on Instagram because sometimes I've missed, on that Jag engine, there was, I think on the wastegate that comes up and the blow off valve are all on one tube. And I wanted that for cleanliness. I didn't have space to put another piece there. And people were like, oh, you can't have those on the same tube. And I'm like, oh, it's solid in between them. They're doing their own thing, but it's all in one piece. So I'm fine with, I don't need it to be perfect. Actually, this isn't a functional thing. These are solid bits of resin. But yeah, I want that plausibility. Above the plausibility is impact and appearance for sure. So
our friend Bill Geary built a Dodge Daytona 20 years ago, and it was featured in all the magazines and whatnot. And somebody nitpicked it, and it was best of show everywhere. but
Yeah.
someone nitpicked it and said that wiper motor wouldn't be on a 69 Daytona, and he
Yeah.
goes, there's no air in the tires either.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've had that conversation. Like I've been to IP mesh shows and talked to the airplane guys, because I am just like, and I've said to them, I said, I don't know how you judge this. Like, I can't, I just don't have experience with it. I can't look at one airplane from the next and say that one's better than that one. If they're painted well and assembled well, like and I said, I mean, how do you know accuracy? And they're like, no, accuracy nobody knows every single instance of every single, marking insignias of every single plane. Like you just, so you can't, you just, you have to trust that that's done well. And you have to look at the, focus on the build and the quality of the build and the paint and stuff like that. So I feel the same way about the car stuff. It's kind of like, I think they call those people rivet counters in the armor and airplane world. And I've encountered a few, online and in person, and with my full size stuff as well. I get into arguments about having Japanese carburetors on a British car. And it's like,
it's my car.
My car. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about the wagon there.
Marcos is asking here. Marcos Cruz saying, hey, Martin, what do you use for chroming your parts?
It's Alclad.
This is the great chroming controversy of 2025. What do you use?
Alclad.
There you go.
Yeah. So I don't use their. They use an enamel base. Is their recommended gloss black base, and I tried it, and it just didn't dry like lacquer does. And then if you use any kind of like Tamiya panel liner, that's enamel base, and then it just melts everything off. Yeah. So I use Mr. Color gloss black base, and then Alclad over top. So, and then I just don't touch it. I just like magically levitate the parts into place. So you touch it. Yeah, one time too many, and one time is usually too many. It's very fragile still, but I haven't found anything. I've tried Molotov. It was too soft. Just never set up. I haven't tried the Revell Chrome or any of these other. I think the challenge for me is like I can find Alclad locally. I can get it here. There's like Green World and all of these other ones I see that look amazing online. I saw a great one that somebody was selling on Etsy, and it was going to end up costing me like $120 to get a 40 milliliter bottle of it by the time I paid for shipping, duties and taxes, all of that stuff. I was just like, it looks great, but I can't do that. So. Yeah, so Alclad has been, and I've been happy with the results, and it varies from time to time in terms of, whether my airbrush is working perfectly or not. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. So.
What brand airbrush do you like?
I just use an Iwata Neo. It's just a cheapie, they're like $100. I've got 3 of them. So I have one for solids, one for metallics, and one for clear. I will, but like I say, I mean, I'm not doing like complicated camouflage patterns on planes. I'm just coating parts. I'm just spraying parts with paint. So that's, but I do try like to do over 90%, if not 100% of my parts on my models are airbrushed. I rarely brush paint anything. I'll spend the time to mask something and airbrush it. Then I just every time I'm like, no, I'm just going to brush paint this part. And I'm like, oh, why did I brush paint this part? Yeah. So, and I particularly with, showcasing this stuff, like as the earlier builds, I was probably a little further away. And then as I've been getting closer with the camera, I've been trying to improve the quality so that when I'm, 2 inches away from the model in a full frame photo, I still want that to look good. I want the finishes on those pieces to look good at that, zoomed in scale.
Yeah. That it comes through like that's your stuff. You can blow up big, and it really magnifies the quality of the build. Yeah. My stuff, you do not want to zoom in that tight. It's like sitting on a table from about 5 feet. I'm like, yeah, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought was the funniest. The first time, like I was at that Deuce Days show in 2022, That was the first time I'd ever taken my model to a show. I'd never displayed any of my stuff before, never entered a competition with anything before. And, I put it all out on the table, and everybody there is like, this is good builders locally. And I'm looking at all of them and I'm like, I can't tell, like at regular eyesight, I cannot tell the difference, right? Just everything looks well built and shiny, and there's some standouts in terms of quality and stuff, but yeah, to see the detail, like and I've had guys in the club, I'll bring the model to our meetings, and they'll look at it and like, oh, that looks great, and then I'll post the photos a few days later of like the zoom in of the engine, and they're like, oh my god, I didn't know it was that detail. You're not 2 inches away from it when you're just looking at it in person. So
yeah, that's amazing. Mr. Duff, can you pull that Volvo wagon back up again? I'd like to hear the story behind that one.
No.
You don't want to.
I was so sad. I literally just closed that window. All right, let me grab it here. Lewis Hicks is in the comments saying that you're one of his favorite builders, which is high praise from one of the newly minted nationally award-winning modelers that we have around here. Yeah. No, Lewis, I'm not going to let that go for a while.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this was a build off. This was the SEMA build off entry from last year. So it's 3-month timeline, and basically anything that would show up at SEMA, which to me is like anything. Like you're not limiting much if you can see anything at SEMA. When I see the coverage afterwards, it's like, yeah, fully lifted trucks to drift stuff to fully restored whatever resto mods. So I think this came about of when everybody's putting their kits in the channel and we're having to chat about, oh, what are you building, and there's a lot of, and everybody, the creativity is really like, I think the people that come to that, like the creativity is fantastic. Everybody's building custom stuff, lots of 3D printing, lots of unique pieces. And I thought, what would be the funniest thing to just put in as the box? Like, here's the kit I'm building. What do I have on my shelf that people would look at and be like, how the heck is a Volvo station wagon going to be at SEMA? So that was the inspiration for the initial kit. And then when I started looking around, I came across there's a digital designer on Instagram called Mean Machines the Game, and he did this body kit for the Volvo wagon. And then a company out of Germany called JP Performance actually built the thing with a Tesla drivetrain. But so the body kit of this is inspired by that actual car. But then I didn't want to put an electric drivetrain in. It's not, I love electric cars, but aesthetically, they're just not as fun as turbos and pipes and exhaust and stuff, right? It's just,
yeah,
it can be a little, there's the battery box and there's the motor, but this is, so yeah, I wanted to fill the back of the car with the engine, basically as much as I could. That McLaren F1 inspired, 4 pipes out the back, like, yeah. And then cut the doors and the roof and the hood open on this one as well, because 3-month timeline. I'm like, yeah, opening doors. I've never done it before, but I'll try it.
I love the paint job on this too. It's just like what was the inspiration behind that?
That's I don't know if you're familiar with like the late 90s British Touring Car Championship. Volvo entered that with a wagon, and that was the Tamiya kit. They did the wagon and the sedan, the race version, and then the street version. So they had like a little strip along the middle of the car that had this kind of diagonal striping in these colors. And I just was like, what if this was supersized? What if we just scaled this up over the entire back of the car? So I just blew up the graphics, and then, yeah, that's all masked and painted and then cleared. But again, going back to Instagram, the guy who actually originally designed that paint scheme on those Volvos commented on this post. I had tagged, Volvo BTCC as one of the hashtags, and I guess he followed that and saw it and was like, he made a comment on it. So that's kind of, it's cool when you can you just have these interactions with people who are just, like the originators of this kind of stuff, or the people that you were influenced by. And I do try and tag as many people as I can when I have been influenced, or when I've been directly like, yeah, your drawing inspired this model, or your build, or whatever, right? So yeah, it's a neat community. It's kind of
that's fun.
Yeah.
Show me something more, James.
Yeah, what else did he share?
I was digging in the background here for
Oh,
What
James.
James has paused.
Let us praise.
I'm back.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so you can see
So
like
I was digging around for the actual car.
yeah, so those little triangles of color and overlay, like that was where that the idea for that came from. But like I said, I wanted to kind of blow it up over the whole back of the car.
Right. That's very cool.
Yeah. Thanks. And I think I pulled this one out because I think I tagged you on this one when I did this.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because I built this
out and I was like,
I built that based on what I thought your illustration looked like. Because the wheels and tires in the kit are stock, but I always thought yours looked like a mild custom to me. It looked lower.
Yeah.
The red was darker. The white walls were a bit bigger. So yeah, so I mean, I took that as inspiration for that build to kind of lower it. And yeah,
that's
awesome. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then that, so those wheels and tires were all those wire wheels were my Jag E-type wheels that I then just skewed and made wider and put different hubcaps on them, and then made a 2-piece white wall. So the white wall is a separate piece, so I just paint that separately, and it just inserts into the tire. So super clean edges. It's very very easy to do.
Yeah, beautiful build. So you photograph a lot of stuff outside, it looks like.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, unless if it's a night shot, I'll do it inside because I can just turn the lights out in my garage. But yeah, anything, I just use ambient light, like indirect sunlight is, so you get reflections of trees and houses and stuff that all seem, they're far enough away that it all scales out pretty well. It doesn't look like the trees are massive when you see them in the reflections like that.
Yeah. I almost exclusively shot in studio. And then I started like following you on Instagram. I'm like, man, these just look amazing. Like outside, picking up all the reflections of trees and things. And
and then
tried to like duplicate that look a couple times with limited success. But yeah.
I think like this one, that ground texture, I've had a bunch of people like, oh, how did you do the ground? And I'm like, I took a photo of the ground and then printed it out. It's definitely cheat code. But I went up to the 5th floor of the Parkade across from my old office, and I just pointed the camera down and shot the road, and then I took that and printed that out. I measured the manhole covers, so I got the scale of the road right to the car. So everything fit. And then I took a picture of the sidewalk and wrapped it around a piece of foam core, 1/8 inch thick, so that the sidewalk has dimension. So a little bit of, photo cheating in terms of those backgrounds, but to me, that's what really helps sell this, the effect is that you just don't look twice at that background. You just think it's a real road because it is a real road. Like it's just a photo representation of it. So same with all the other backgrounds I use. I've either shot photos or I found them online. Places like
the graffiti background. I know you used several times.
Yeah, that's a good one for the hot rods. I like that for the hot rods. Yeah. I think I might have just used that on that Nissan Silvia, the kind of grungy ones. So
right, yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Like when I started, I think I was on my second F1 car, and I had done like a studio setup with like overhead lights and a little seamless paper backdrop, and I was taking photos with my camera, and I'm like, that looks pretty good. That's So then I started working on it a little bit more, and then just tweaking some settings and stuff, and I'm like, no, this is kind of fun. Like, and so I really got into enjoying the photography as much as the build, like just being able to try and make that as convincing as possible.
Yeah. So the question here is, what are you using to take your photos with, and then how much post-processing?
I just upgraded a camera a few months ago, but almost every shot going back 5 years was taken on a Canon T3i. So I would say hobby level DSLR camera. So digital 35 millimeter camera. I think it was 18 megapixel. I'm now using a Canon R6 for the last few shots. So yeah, everything's shot on that fully. Like I can go to manual settings. Everything's on a tripod. I mean, I can get into like technical details here around shooting. ISO 100 always, like to avoid the noise in the shots. Really long shutter speeds then to get the light in, so everything is tripod mounted. Remote shutter release so I don't vibrate the camera. And then once I've got the shots, I use Adobe Lightroom is my choice for processing. It's great because I can, I have presets from every model I've done because everything requires a little bit of different white balance, or depending on what color, how many clouds were out that day, what was the sun hitting my neighbor's greenhouse and casting everything green, so Lightroom is great for building that preset and then being able to apply it to every photo and just have everything kind of be consistent. So, but it's also great. Like, I think the biggest thing I've found for processing with model stuff is bringing up the midtones and the shadows, because I see people post and like they're using like direct sunlight. So you end up with like super white highlights and super dark shadows. And so much of the detail gets lost because you can't make out what's happening in those shadows. You kind of lose some of that, especially engine detail and engine bays and stuff. You kind of, just boosting those midtones really accentuates the detail and makes everything look a little bit maybe more detailed than it actually is. I've said that to a few people though. It's like, and I can't remember where I learned this from or who said it, but if you super detail the most obvious part of the car, people will project that level of detail onto the rest of the car. They just assume that everything else is done to that level, even if you've only really paid attention to that one part.
Just that carburetor.
Absolutely. I've found that to be, and like I did a hot rod, and I think I really detailed the engine. I'd posted a photo of the engine. It had like 3D printed fuel lines. It was very detailed. It was, very accurate, very nicely done. And then I posted the chassis, and somebody's like, "That's the most detailed chassis I've ever seen." And I'm like, no, it's really not. But the engine's really detailed. So you just, I think people take that information and then just kind of, actually, what it is? I know what the metaphor was now. Somebody was like, spend money on your countertops in a bathroom reno, because that's where people look and they see a really nice countertop and they're like, oh, everything must be done to this level. Whether it was or not. It's,
Marcos is leading the charge. He demands to see this one, so sure, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, the Ventura. I finished that this year.
You said that was copper, right?
Yeah, that's the Mr. Color Super Metallic series. There's like 8 or 9 colors in that series, like iron, super copper. Their stainless is really good. Their duralumin is really good, like almost alclad levels, but more durable. But yeah, that's just straight super copper with then the GX100 over top, and that's all alclad bumpers and wheels, and then bare metal foil. It's funny, I bought my last sheet of bare metal foil is like the best sheet of bare metal foil I've had since I started building again. I've had lumpy bits of bare metal foil. I've had stuff that tears easily. This last sheet that I did this one with was like the best. It was perfect. So, yeah. I built a couple of the Mobius kits now. I like them.
Yeah, the chassis on that one, is it detailed and modified at all, or just stuck
spindle heights. Yeah, spindle heights are moved at the front. The springs at the back are cut just to get the axle up to that height. I don't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure I just cut the tops of those tires off.
Yeah,
because I will not take the time to tub a chassis that will not be visible. And that's, I think that's part of my photography mantra as well, is if I can't see it from the camera's point of view, I don't, and I've seen, and I know people, like I've seen the posts like, oh yeah, I detailed the battery and put it in the trunk of the car. And it's like, okay, but it doesn't, you'll never see it again. Like it's, I know, it's there. And I think for some people there's satisfaction in that, but for me, I want to move on to, I am focusing on what is visible. And I think that's, just knowing those angles, like when I'm shooting and stuff, just this is what I will see when I actually photograph this thing. So
yeah, that one's really beautiful.
Thanks.
Back to the technical questions.
Yep.
We're being asked what lens you're using, because obviously depth of field on something like this is an issue.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm using the kit lens that came in the camera. It's a 18 to 55. My new one's a little bit different, and I think this actually was shot on my R6, my new one. So yeah, I'm just using the basic kit lens, but yes, maximum depth of field. So aperture is around 24, 27. So again, like with that small, I mean, getting that small of a camera opening at ISO 100. I mean, some of the exposure lengths are 3/4 of a second, even in daylight, like even in that ambient daylight. So they can, yeah, I mean, that to me is the biggest key for scale model photography is depth of field, is getting as much of the car in focus as you can. And you can see that like when people want to simulate a model, they do that tilt shift effect to push foreground and background elements out of focus. And that's what makes real things look like a model. So we kind of want to do the exact opposite in the model world, is focus as much as you can, get your depth of field as big as you can. But yeah, that does, like I say, that's small aperture and longer exposure times. So tripod is, yeah, the only way I can do it with the camera I have and the lens that I have. I know if I had, a better lens, if I went and spent thousands of dollars on a lens that let more light in, I could probably handheld more shots. But that's just not the equipment I have.
Yeah. Photography that's another hobby. It's like you've layered hobbies on top of each other. Like that's a complete separate hobby by itself.
Yeah.
Model building.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like the skills, like, and that photography stuff has come through work, has come through traveling and taking photos while I'm traveling, and just an independent interest in that now has, converged with the model building. So I can, and that's really, you talk about the followers on Instagram. I mean, Instagram is all about how you present your work, and I think that's how you get the most impact is like, and I've seen it, like there's a guy out there who shoots die-cast models, super realistic, absolutely blows me away how convincing he gets. He adds, like he's got like a little air blaster and he'll have dust effects coming out of a rally car that,
right,
just does amazing stuff, but he doesn't build the cars. Phenomenal photographer. And then other people who are amazing builders, and I'm just like, oh man, just take a few of those little, brush the dust off, before you take the photo, take it outside in natural light.
Yeah.
Don't put it in direct sunlight and take some photo. Like, it's just, I think it's absolutely a skill that could be learned. And I know there's a lot of great builders out there that, when I see the work on Instagram, I'm just like, a little bit more in the photography end would just really allow people to see how great the build is. So,
yeah, I'm somewhat lazy about my photography. I just kind of want to shoot it with my iPhone just on my desk and okay.
Yeah.
Because I really want to, but I appreciate when other people are like, oh man, that's so good. No,
I would say, I can always spot the stuff that I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a model. I can see the, or mistakes I've made or whatever. When I posted stuff, I can see all those little things. I always joke, if you never see one side of the car, that's because there's something wrong with that side of the car. So if you see one of my builds that is only photographed from the right, that's why. There's like something happened on the other side. But I think I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought where I was going there. Anyway, I think the ability to fool somebody, and I think that's what I was going to say. I probably got like half a dozen photos, I think, over the time that I've been doing this, that I'm looking at going, that is, I can't see the challenge with it. I think one I sent through to James was the red 30 Ford hot rod. It's a profile view, and it's on that graffiti background.
I was literally had this thing loaded up and ready, because when you sent through the pictures, this was the first picture I sent these to this afternoon in our group chat, because it rides that line of you can't tell if this is real or not.
That's because it's got no windshield wipers on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think both of the hot rods, this one and the red one, I think are there's very little giveaway here to my view that there's that this is a scale model. This is, it's like down to like, I took the chassis and I cut I thinned the chassis out at the front and then put little bits of styrene to make that C channel the front pieces of the chassis, because that's how the guy's car, as he built it, that's how it was. He didn't have the bar across the front, but the holes were still there. So yeah, I think that's a good example. The red one I did, I started doing weighting on the tires. Like I started deforming the bottom of the tires a little bit in the 3D model, so they actually print, and they only wrote, you have to mount them exactly on that. Yeah. So yeah. So that one again, I think photography wise, that one, I'm like, that's one of the ones I'm the happiest with. And I think part of it is that that's a real car that I built the replica of. I've seen dozens of photos of that car, and that's pretty close. So the wilder ones like the Volvo and the Jag, those cars, like you more readily spot that those are models because they're so outlandish. They're so, the detail on them is a little bit more fabricated than kind of replicated reality. So
I enjoy the hue of the tire. And what is that, rubber black?
It's to me rubber black. No,
Okay.
It's rubber black. I will just, once it's painted, I'll take, just my finger, just a little bit of, like the oil from my skin, and just like rub that tire to get a sheen on it and get that right sheen of rubber. I like the rubber black. It photographs really well in terms of separating from a gloss black like the wheel is. So you kind of get that, it doesn't all blend together. Just that sheen just gives it to me like a little bit, it takes a little bit of the toyness away of it, where everything is like a perfect matte finish or a perfect glossy finish. Like it's that variation of sheen within a part that to me can help the realism kind of shine. So
that's what I'm just now getting into is mixing flats and semi-glosses and, trying to mix up the sheens of things.
Yeah. The guy I referenced out of Vancouver who builds the Model Factory Hero kits, he does like oil washes on stuff, and his patina work, when it's just like a race used part or something, like it's not only the weathering and the finish, but it's the sheen difference that, can telegraph that realism, that's a different material than that material right there, even though it's all painted on the same part. So
right. Yeah. Nice. And that's a great build.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that was that one, Offenhauser heads and like the little twist bolts on the valve covers and stuff. Yeah. That kit has no engine, or that build has no engine. I was more interested in the patina on that one. I just wanted to.
How dare you
to try it? I think I had, what's his name? He's from Australia, Bryce. Can't remember. Builds fantastic stuff. He's like, how did you find the firewall fit with the engine? I'm like, I sent him a picture of just nothing in the engine. I'm like, it was fine, no problems at all. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
What do you think? That's the salt, using salt as masking. And so
what's been your most favorite build that you've built so far?
I don't know. It's funny. One of the ones that, I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite. I think it's the most underappreciated one, is I built that Revell 71 Mustang.
Oh yeah.
And I built it as a 71 sports roof. So I 3D printed the lower model grille, got rid of the Mach 1 stuff. I put the dog dish hubcaps and did, polyglass tires on it. And then I reprinted a bunch of stuff in the engine bay and hinges and redid the air filter. Like I spent a ton of time modeling all of these little bits to kind of get that to look right. And I think probably one of my better paint jobs in scale. But the door lock pulls were added. The Mustang script on the fender is 3D printed. It's whatever, 7 millimeters long. So I modeled that in Blender and then printed it out about a millimeter thick, and then just basically back sanded it until I got it super thin, and then glued it on. So there's lots of, but it's not a flashy build. You know what I mean? Like I can't remember why I wanted it to build this way. It's not like, this is not my favorite Mustang. This is not,
it called to you. Yeah.
But I do love an underdog car. I will say, like, just, maybe an unloved car, or maybe one that maybe wasn't, and I think I find that with, like, I don't really build supercar stuff like Ferraris, like modern stuff. I know that T50 was a Tamiya kit, so I had to build that. Right. But I do tend to like kind of these underachievers or just something a little bit that's, kind of out of mainstream. So yeah, like that, like I 3D printed the distributor with the boots on it and then ran the wires and then changed I filed the valve covers and then painted those blue so they weren't like the Boss motor or whatever. So
right. I like the tonal differences in it. It makes it interesting.
Yeah, that's a lot of different blacks and grays and those colors. Like that top of the plastic of the grill. Like I went online and found like, what color is that? Like, because I made that part, so I need to reference what. And everyone I saw was kind of a little bit sun faded or just weathered, and I'm like, okay, so figure that out again. Just rubbing that a little bit to change the sheen from, it's not really, you're not like putting a wash on it to weather it, but it just kind of helps to telegraph a little bit more of a worn surface maybe. So
yeah,
dig it.
But yeah, that was, the red hot rod is up there. I think the Beetle 4x4, the Baja Beetle that I did, I really liked. Yeah.
What's been the model that you were building that you're like, I'm throwing this thing against the wall, I never want to,
like kit wise,
kit wise or anything, just like
that Scout was the first AMT kit I've ever finished.
Okay.
So I started on the Studebaker Starliner AMT kit, and I really like that car. I'm not, American cars are not my specialty, or there's very specific ones that I like, and that is one that I like. So I wanted that to be a better kit than it is, but it's really old. It's but the
60s,
the proportions of the body are pretty good. I could do something similar like I did with the Mustang. I could reprint the emblems on that and have it like a nicer body and put new emblems on it. So it's one of those ones where the kit, I'm looking at the kit like, do I really want to build this? But I like the car. So then it's like, do I want to put the time in to basically 3D print everything but the body to make this what I want? And I think that's, I've done like the Mustang was stock. I did that 63 Corvette end of last year, I think, that I did stock. That was based on the Snap Tight kit. So that kind of like, there's certain cars that I'm like, I don't like the custom versions of these. I like these cars original. And the Corvette is certainly one. Like,
the line.
I've never seen a custom C3 that I like as much as the stock one. And that's not with every car. There's only certain cars that I would say that about. But yeah. So yeah, this was the Revell Snap Tight body. And I'd seen a lot of people on like, Model Cars Magazine forum saying, this is a really well proportioned body. This is the best body of a 63, but it's in a Snap Tight kit. So it's, not the best result. So yeah, I bought that as an assembled kit off eBay for $20 or whatever. And then tore it apart, stripped it down, and then combined that with the 67 kit and the photo etch set from Model Car Garage, maybe. So yeah, and then those are my own wheels and tires. Again, those white walls are inserts, separately printed. I tried masking them, and it just wasn't clean enough. But yeah, the grill was 3D printed. I reprinted the 3D side skirts because the ones in the kit had too many. I think they had too few lines, right? Because they have to make concessions like that when they can't injection mold the detail, maybe, or they don't, just won't hold up. Whereas 3D printing, I can print that, with whatever 9 strakes instead of 7. So same with the wheels. I think the wheels are probably a little finer, a little bit more detailed. But even like the spinners have the recesses for the red, white, and blue paint in them, and it all showed up in the print. And I was able to flow enamel into each of those to get the colors in there. So yeah.
Nice. It's amazing how much just like putting a really accurate set of wheels and tires on a kit, just all of a sudden, will take even the most mundane subject matter and to just like really brighten it. I think model car kits in general, I don't know, there's so many kits that I've like, I really like that, except for the wheels and tires. Like they're either the wrong scale or the wrong width, or just like they suffer from, deciding that they want to use the same tire mold in every kit that they do, and so it's not quite right. And
I built the Fujimi Abarth 500 kit. Because a friend of mine had one, and I tend
tiny
to avoid
tires.
Oh, they're hilarious, right? Because I think they kept the same tires out of the stock 500 kit, But they did this, they did a wheel that had the right number of spokes, but the lip of the wheel was wider than the opening in the tire to make them look like the tires were lower profile, but they just actually covered part of the tire. It's just like, oh, that is nice. So yeah, again, I mean, before 3D printing, I don't know how I would have sourced the wheels that are on that car, right? Or, and I've got guys in the club who I'm like really close to getting onto 3D printing. Like they're buying 3D printed parts, but I'm like, hey, you could, it's not that big of an investment.
Sean, I think it's in your future.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, but these are, these are guys that will spend $50 on a kit to get a good set of wheels and tires out of it. And I'm kind of like, hey, that's your, you're on your way to a 3D printer. And I will reprint a set of wheels and tires over 0.5 millimeter in height. If it's too big, too small, whatever, like I'll just reprint them because it's like $1.50 worth of resin and just scale them up 102%, print it again. It's like, okay, there it is. Yeah, the wheels and tires they've got to be right. So
what 3D printer are you using?
I have an Elegoo Mars 4 now. I had a 5, but did not like the movable tray.
Oh,
hope Elegoo's not watching. I had issues with it. It's one of the reasons I asked about your layer height. I could print stuff at 0.02, and if I printed the same thing at 0.01, the plate was crashing into the bed. And we could never resolve it. So that was, I don't know why. Like I've always printed at 0.01 because, again, being super close photographing those you see those layer lines, especially at the 0.05 or something. So yeah, so I liked 0.01. I would accept the print times being, a lot longer, just send stuff overnight. But yeah, so I went back, I bought a Mars 4 because it doesn't have the movable bed, but had a 9K screen on the little build plate. So horizontal resolution is fantastic. So.
Yeah.
Another audience request.
Oh yeah, that thing. I remember when that came out. Sick.
I think in my post I put that I wasn't actually planning on building that kit. I was like, I'm not a huge Porsche 911 fan. I love the Cayman. I would build a Cayman in a second, but a friend of mine from Instagram in Sweden, model car builder 124, his name is Johan. He put together a group build off when this kit came out, and I think he wrangled like almost 50 builders worldwide, mostly in Sweden and Finland and Germany and stuff, like local to them, to bring it to a show in Sweden that they have every year, and they get like 600 or 700 builds there every year. Like it's a big show. So I built this and then shipped it to him for the show, so he could actually have it on the ground there. So I don't have that one anymore. I don't have that one, and I don't have the Scout. Those are the only two I've gotten rid of. So. And the Aviard.
Now, what was your inspiration?
Do you remember Newman Porsche? Like there was those, like the 962s or 956s. They had the Newman jeans livery. And it was that diagonal yellow and black. So I wanted to do something like that. But then the Japanese lettering on the side actually just says Porsche in Japanese. So that was taken from the. I was using Google Translate, and I'm like, is this accurate? Like, is this? I'm going to put something on here, and it's going to say picnic table or something on the side of this Porsche. So I finally thought, no, it'll be on the box. It'll be on the box art from Tamiya, and there it was. And I'm like, okay, it's accurate. If it's on the Tamiya box art, I'm going to trust that says Porsche. So yeah, so I found a font that I liked, a Japanese font style that I liked online, and set the type, made the masks. I used I have a Cricut vinyl cutter. So I'll cut masking tape with the vinyl cutter to make those kinds of stencils. Okay. And then use a little bit of salt masking to roughen it up. So it just gave it a little bit of wear and tear. But again, like that engine in the back ends right there. Like there's nothing beyond that. It's like a flat plate, and the turbos stick out of it, and the air filters come out the side, and that's it, right? Because you can't see anything beyond that. So
yeah, Martin, you say you have a Cricut. A friend of mine is Cricut cutting his windows out of acetate.
Out of acetate?
Because they're so much better than plastic kit windows. So he's like drawing them in Blender or whatever, and sending the file to his Cricut and cutting them out of acetate.
That's interesting. I've cut thin plastic on it, but even like really thin plastic, it's like you're cracking the parts out. Like it wouldn't go through it, even at my heaviest setting. But that's that could just be the model that I've got. And that's kind of what's kept me from maybe more of the 3D printed full builds is Windows, right? Like having to vacuum form stuff would be a challenge.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it too.
Now I like this Volvo because, first of all, you just don't see very many of these kits get built, even in the racing livery they came in, even though there's decal sheets for other racing liveries to put them in. But to do it as a street car and then throw the IKEA load on top, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was when I started, I was posting on Brit Modeler for a few months, and they had a group build, and it was just Swedish was the theme. So, and 90% of the stuff was aircraft. So I was like, well, I'm going to do a Swedish car in a Swedish location with, make it as Swedish as I could. So, those are, I drew out all of those IKEA boxes and printed them out and wrapped them around little pieces of balsa. And then, and then the back wall. The back wall, I made that, like I found a corrugated steel photo, but then I colored it yellow and added the type and added the logo to the back and stuff. So
that's hilarious.
But yeah, I think that was probably the first street car I had taken a photo of in that kind of background where I was like, this is starting to get convincing now. Like I can, I could fool some people with this. So which is the most fun part.
Yeah, the windows.
I've had a lot of people
really good.
They're like, sorry?
The windows on that are really good.
Yeah, it's funny. I get a lot of comments around the windows. I color the edges black with like a Sharpie, and I'll give them a quick polish with Tamiya, whatever final polish, but that's it. But I think, like we were saying to Sean earlier, ambient light, outdoor light, when it's indirect, it just those reflections just make the windows feel so much more realistic, and the black edging just makes them feel so much thinner when they're not you're not seeing any cracks or defects in the plastic. So yeah, I think it's partly the black edge and partly ambient reflections that really just help sell that as real glass. So
okay.
Do you ever tint any of the windows like a tinted glass color?
I've done like tinted sunroofs and stuff, just with like smoke clear, things like that. Or I've done some airbrushed, like the visor, like on the 61 Pontiac. I think I did that. I think I just mounted the tape a little bit off the glass so you get a bit of a soft edge when you're masking it. But yeah, this goes back to the YouTube story I was starting to tell you about. I filmed this entire build, shot the whole thing, top down, detail shots. Start to finish. And one of my, I think one of my better paint jobs, I think that's like, the sheen and the scale thickness is all exactly where I wanted. I was happy with how the build came out. I had really nice photos at the end to use as thumbnail screens. And I got about 10 minutes into the editing process. And I was like, this is work. This is like I didn't necessarily enjoy the filming and building at the same time, but then the editing, I was like, what if I put this up and it's really popular and I feel incentivized to do it again and I hate it? Like it's going to drive me out of building. I'm just going to avoid building because I just won't want to do it. So I never put anything up. I never started the channel. It didn't take long to realize how much work it is to put those kinds of things together. And I appreciate the people that do because I learn a lot from them, but I couldn't do it. It was just,
do what you love.
Yeah. And for me, I love the photography. I love the building. I love the creativity. Anybody that asks me questions on Instagram of how something is done or what I used, I will answer if I see it, I'm not hesitant to share what I do. So it's not like, I'm avoiding YouTube for that. It is just, it just felt like work. So that is not what I want this hobby to be.
Yeah. I forgot.
Oh, man.
This was another one. When I saw this, I was like, it's insane. Like
What?
That was another.
So you never seen a
That was
300
another
SL hover truck before?
Yeah, exactly. That was another build off entry. So that was 3 months start to finish for both of those. Like, so that was intense. That was like a lot of 3D modeling, a lot of printing, like all those little glowing parts in the side of the truck and on the bottom of the car. Those are glue sticks, so they have that kind of matte, they kind of diffuse light perfectly. So I just drilled in the ends and stuck LEDs in the ends and painted them with a clear green paint and then lit them up. So, but yeah, that, I think 3 days before the deadline, I finally figured out those straps. Like, and all the way along, I'd been building the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have straps and they'll hold the car up and it'll look like it's holding it down and it'll work. And then like 3 days before I had to submit photos, I was like, how am I actually going to do this? So that ended up being little strips of very thin aluminum, not aluminum foil, but like actual aluminum plate. So probably like 32nd of an inch thickness. And I cut them into strips and then coated them in an iron-on elbow patch fabric. So I coated them in the fabric so they look like straps, and then 3D printed all the buckles and stuff. So those are actually aluminum, little bits of thin aluminum holding that car up off the back of the bed of the truck. And then the truck is a converted Revell fire truck. I won, that took best of show at IPMS Vancouver the year I did that. So, which I was shocked about, but so it's funny. It was like, it didn't have a category to go into. So it was in the what if automotive category on a table over in the side of the room. Like, I thought nobody's even looking at it. Like, not even over there. But yeah, no, that was, again, the build offs, and the theme of the build off was take me to the races. That was it. You just had to build a race car and a transporter. And they got, I don't know, I wouldn't say I have like a, they started to get a little picky in the chat about patina, whether the truck could be patinaed, but the car wasn't. They should match. And they started getting a little prescriptive around how things should be done. And I was just like, no, this is this is going to be different. So anyway.
Yeah, that thing is just it's another level of like what?
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, and I can't remember specific inspiration for that, but there's been a lot of hover car concept art around, alternate reality kind of stuff. And that's, like I say, I love all that kind of stuff as well. So it's fun the cyberpunk stuff is really fun because there are no rules around it, right? You can kind of just do whatever. And it's, again, if it looks cool, it's cool. So that's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Another insane build.
Yeah, so that's a Hasegawa MR2. That was the one they released whatever year or two ago, which is,
of course, it is
a really nice. Yeah. But it's on the Tamiya Toyota GT1 Le Mans kit. Okay. So the chassis, the floor, the base of the engine, rear suspension, front suspension, all of that is from the Toyota GT1 kit, and then I stuck the Hasegawa interior and body over top of that. And it's neat. I don't know if, a lot of these new Hasegawa kits, like, because they're building them, they're doing stock cars and then they're doing race versions. They have a lot of under bumper detail and under hood detail, like molding of panels and stuff that you don't necessarily see. But when I cut the, like when you take the hood off that, all of the under hood detailing is really nice. Like it's, the hood doesn't open on the front, but they've taken the time to actually add some of that. Yeah, just those molded in pieces of the body, like the structural body, not the outside body. So when I started pulling pieces off of this, there was some really nice detail underneath to kind of reveal. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, it's funny. I tend to put lights like LED lights in the cyberpunk stuff and the crazier stuff, and not so much the regular stuff. But I do like adding them to some of the builds. Yeah, there's the like I said, that's inspired by Walter Kim. But then that Japanese writing on top is the name of the original creator of Akira, which I can't remember off the top of my head now. But I found his name in characters. I'm like, okay, that'll be my reference to Akira on this car. So, and then I think that's actually got a 1/20th scale Ferrari F189 engine in it. which I think scales out to 4.2 liters at 124 scale. So, but yeah, I reprinted. I did a V12.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I did a V12 intake to match the F40 V8 intake, so it looks like the F40 intake, but it's actually a 12-cylinder intake. So, I kind of like doing that stuff where you have to look twice to see that it's not correct, like that it's not the right thing. So
that's crazy.
And notice that all of the models say Stoked on them. Do all of them say Stoked on them somewhere?
No. Sometimes it's like a rear window decal, or it's like, on the spoiler like that one, and on the Jag and stuff. I tend to put it on the stuff that I think might get shared a little bit more as being a little bit more different, or something where I feel a little bit more ownership of the design that I've done. Okay. Sometimes I will add Stoked just so I've got a little bit of, if that does pop around, because you have no control over it once you've posted it. It's out there, right? So I do like sometimes having my name on some of those builds that I think might make a, but on a hot rod, like it's a hot rod, and I think, I like them, but I don't tend to put my name on those ones.
Yeah, that was
I can't.
So I was going to say, the question I was curious about is, what is the name a reference to? I mean, that's obviously not your real name.
Yeah, I was born in England before moving to Canada, and I was born in a town called Stoke-on-Trent. So that was my hometown, was Stoke-on-Trent. So I started using it. I built some bicycles years ago, and I started using Stoked as the name of the bicycles, like when I did the graphics and decals on them and stuff. So yeah, then it just started to stick to everything I did. So everything, if I put decals on anything that I've done, but I have like 3 different logos. I have the bicycle logo, I've got the model logo, and I've got a car logo, but all with the same name. So yeah,
that's cool.
Awesome.
That's part of the benefit of being a designer, is you can just kind of make your own stuff up as much as you want. Just rebrand and nobody will care. It's not like Cracker Barrel.
Don't take the cracker off the Cracker Barrel. All right, so Martin, the last question we always ask everybody is the Lifetime Achievement Award build type of question. If there was a model, or I suppose a series of models, if you wanted to go that far, that you wanted to get done before you shuffle off this mortal coil, as it were, that would sort of be this. I mean, we've looked at a bunch of just really out there concepts already, but is there something that's still out there that defines Martin as a builder?
Yeah, I think an original McLaren F1 build, and I have a couple of kits that are not great. I would love a Tamiya level, fully detailed McLaren F1 kit. That would be, Model Factory Hero makes a 12 scale, but I don't really have $1,000 to drop on a 12 scale kit. And I watched a guy, Olive Izzle, I watched him online, and he basically 3D modeled and reprinted every part of that kit. Because he's like, this isn't detailed enough. So it was like he was using it as reference for scale and then redoing everything. And his stuff looked amazing. It was fantastic. But yeah, a McLaren F1 would be top of my list. So
Done a stock. Is a great guy too, by the way. I built quite a few of his prints.
Yep. Yeah, no, I love the fact, like the BAC mono, like I love the stuff that he does as well. The subject matter is fantastic. So yeah.
I just finished his Spiker and his Gamera.
Yeah, no, it looks like good stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, James.
I would say, I think it was Sean who was talking.
Well, I was just following up on your McLaren F1. If you were interested in building it stock or as like a cyberpunk.
Yeah, well, maybe one of each, but I do. Yeah, you don't often see custom McLaren F1s, even in maybe in the digital realm, I guess. But yeah, like that's the F1 GTR, like the street version of the GTR car. That to me is like, one car garage. If I could have any car, that would be it. So yeah, having a good model of a stock F1 GTR would be ideal.
So much fun.
That's a great thing. I can have all these cars and not have to pay for them all. Well, not have to pay a lot for them.
often said, this hobby is all the vehicles I can't really afford to own in real life.
Yeah, we actually do anything the local club. Every guy in the club is a car guy. So in the summer, we'll have a little mini car show out at one of the guys' places. Everybody will bring their fun car to the club meet for the summer, and it's kind of nice to see everybody's. Some of it's like a little nice little fixed up Chevy S10. Other guys with hot rods or Malibus or whatever, right? Like it's an interesting mix. So
Awesome.
Very cool.
All right, boys and girls, we are at our cutoff time here. I want to thank Martin for dropping in tonight and sharing his craft and photography skills
Pleasure.
with us. Hopefully there's a few women left after he gets through his next project. Again, I saw a couple people mention in the comments, does he have a YouTube channel? Technically, no. there was, if you recall the story there, an attempt at one, but no, there isn't one. So he is at Stoked Model on Instagram. That's where you're going to find Martin. Hopefully, if you're not a purveyor of Instagram for plastic modeling, this is a little poke at you to go over there and check out the community that has developed over there over the last couple of years. A lot of talented builders who are using that social media platform that don't use Facebook or they're not on YouTube. And like I said, hopefully seeing what Martin does there is an inspiration for you to go check that whole scene out and show those creators some love.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Martin.
Yeah, thanks, Martin.
No, thank you guys. That was enjoyable. It was a good chat. I enjoyed it. So thanks for having me.
Yeah. Next episode, we'll have Jeff Blumhoff on from Mr. Tester's Model Club there, and we're going to be all chit-chatting about the upcoming Plastic Undercover show in Akron. The big, hopefully, it'll be a big, as the years go on, a big show that's going to be sort of taking the place of the original NNL. And we look forward to seeing everybody back in 2 weeks. And until then, see you guys on the other side.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.